Thank you, Stuart. And now I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker, someone who has dedicated his life's work to inspiring others to overcome impossible odds. He likes to refer to himself as just another person with a unique and interesting story. If you think your story's interesting. He really is an inspiration to everyone. Jason Romero is the first and only legally blind athlete to run across America. Some of us can't run to the refrigerator. He ran across America. In addition to this amazing feat, he has made it a priority to raise funds and motivate audiences in hopes of sharing how he believes that grit and perseverance can really help overcome any adversity. Please welcome Jason Romero to the stage.
Good morning. How are we doing today? Great. Okay, so here's the deal. I've been given 10 minutes to debunk this word that's on the screen there, impossible. And I'm going to submit to you first and foremost that that word has been mispronounced for all of time. And that word is actually pronounced, I'm possible. And I'm going to tell you a story, the story of my life. Because I didn't always know that I was possible. And hopefully by telling you this story, you too will come along with me and believe that the latter pronunciation of that word is true. Well, as with everybody in life, we all have things that happen to us where our life could change in a single moment, in an instant, with a telephone call, a test result, and everything changes. That happened to me. I was 14 years old at the time. And I was sitting in a doctor's office, an eye doctor's office. And he looked up at me and he said to me, Jason, you're going blind. He told me I had a rare degenerative eye condition, retinitis pigmentosa. It causes your retina to degenerate from the outside in. On the right-hand side there, it's a picture of my 3 kids. They were much younger back then. It dates me a little bit. On the left-hand side, this is to show a degeneration and kind of what it's like. As the retina dies, what happens is I end up getting blind spots where the retina will not pick up images. Eventually, it turns into tunnel vision. This is how I see right now. I have 15 degrees of sight, and I have 2,400 visual acuity. Eventually, that tunnel will close down to straws, then pinholes, and then nothing. When I got that diagnosis, that eye doctor looked at me right in the eye and said, Jason, what do you want to do with your life? And I responded, I'm going to be a doctor or a lawyer. Nobody in my family has gone to college, and I will break that cycle. And he responded to me and said, forget about it. You will have no light perception in 15 years. 80% of blind people do not work, learn to do something with your hands. Well, the good thing about that was I was a teenager. And at that point, when I was a teenager, I didn't listen to adults. So I didn't listen to this doctor, and that was a blessing because I went on with my life. And I went through challenges. It was hard. I'm not going to pretend like it wasn't hard. I had to figure out how to adapt and figure out how to read and use magnifiers, move to the front of glass, wear reader glasses in my teenage years. It was hard. But I figured out a way, and I went to college. I went to law school. I did become a lawyer. Thank you. And I also carried on into a business career. And after a decade with General Electric, I had risen to the position of general manager of GE Capital in Puerto Rico. Came back to Denver as a vice president of global operations for a Fortune 500 company headquartered here. Also a CEO of a nonprofit that helps children with autism. So I'd had success. But like anybody who's been successful, I have also failed, and I have failed many, many more times than I've succeeded. And just 3 short years ago, I was at a crossroads in my life, hitting rock bottom. My eyesight had decreased. I had given up driving. I was divorced, trying to raise 3 kids. One of my kiddos has autism, special needs. I wasn't working. The federal government had told me I was permanently and totally disabled because of my eyesight, and I was collecting disability income, and I became depressed. And it was at that low point in my life that I realized I needed to make a change. I needed to challenge myself and accept something to make something of myself again. And that challenge for me was going to be this. I would run across America. I would start at the Pacific Ocean and travel 3,000 miles on foot to the Atlantic Ocean. I made this logo. It's supposed to look like an eye. I hope it does. Does it? Yeah? Good. And I was going to call this Vision Run USA. And I chose the word vision as opposed to sight because sight, I am losing. I have no control over that. It's a biological phenomenon that interprets light and creates images. I will not have that. But vision, I have. Vision is something that exists in each and every one of our minds. We can have it with our eyes closed. It's about what could be, should be, and will be with each and every one of your lives and dreams. And I would use my strategy that I developed, my AAA strategy that helped me to overcome my alien eyesight. When there's an adversity, you must change and adapt to that adversity to achieve success, and this would be no different. I had 18 months to prepare, so I had to start running, right? At the beginning, I was running 30, 40 miles a week. At the end, I would run 300 miles a week. I ran 6 races of 100 miles or longer during that time period. This picture was taken at the Badwater Ultra Marathon. It's a 135-mile run through Death Valley in July. It was 120 degrees when that picture was taken. That's why I'm wearing the goofy white outfit there. And you run on the white line, because if you run on the black asphalt that's 200 degrees, it will melt the bottom of your shoes. I had to figure out a way to get the word out. I taught myself how to make a website, and I created it and published it online. I had to negotiate with my kids and talk to them about separating for at least 2 months. At the beginning, it was cool. They thought Dad was going out to do something cool. As we got closer and closer to takeoff date, dinners were a lot more somber. Quiet, tears. I had to figure out the logistics of doing this, right? How do you figure out a route across America? It's not like you just put 2 points in Google and you got a route. What are the rules? Can you run on highways? Do you have to run on trails or sidewalks? What are the logistics of this thing? How do you bring clothes or shoes? How many shoes? Socks? What kind of weather will you hit? I had to raise money. Remember, I wasn't working. I called company after company after company and was rejected and rejected and rejected. But ultimately, I found a few that believed in me. And I was committing the most classic error. And one that I was reminded of back when I was in General Electric, I had coached many subordinates through. I was trying to do everything alone. Alone, we can accomplish little. Together, we can move mountains. And I needed to create a team, and I did. And I recruited my mother, my 70-year-old mother, to drive my brother's 12-year-old minivan across the country with me. The minivan needed a new transmission. We figured that out about halfway through. I had strangers come to my aid to take the routing off, to take the website off of my plate. I had a neighbor come and start booking hotel rooms and figuring out where we'd stay. I recruited a nonprofit organization that helped and supported me, U.S. Association of Blind Athletes. They would make all donations tax deductible. But it was finally time last year on March 25th to start. And on March 25th, I stood at Santa Monica Pier at the Pacific Ocean, bent down and picked up a seashell. And I turned east. And I committed to not stop running until I ran out of land. And I ran east out of Los Angeles into the high desert by 29 Palms, and that's where first disaster struck. My mom drove the van off into a soft shoulder, towed out, tow chain broke, drove over the tow chain, flat tire. Drove on the flat tire, cut the tire. The day was done. Only 16 miles that day. Took 30 days to make up the mileage to continue to average 50 miles a day. Kept running east through Arizona. The first of 10 times I had cars drive at me at the breakdown lane and miss me by just feet. Was chased by wild animals. This one dog, I think it had like 3 eyes and an arm coming out of the side. Foaming mouth. Actually, I think it was a Yorkshire Terrier, but I'm blind. It was fierce. It was really fierce. And kept running through New Mexico and through the cattle lands of Texas and Oklahoma where the methane smells are just suffocating, and into the windy cornfields of Kansas and on into Missouri where they don't have sprinklers. It's green. It rains a lot in Missouri. I got hit by my first car in Missouri. And I kept running into Illinois, the land of Lincoln, where I was running down a backcountry road, and I saw a man over there who was totally out of place. And I went over to ask him if he needed help and introduced myself. I said, "I'm Jason. Who are you, and do you need some help?" He said, "My name's Mike. I'm from Cleveland, and I'm walking from New York to Los Angeles." And that reminded me that just when you think you're out there risking it all, the only nut job out there, there's somebody equally as crazy or crazier than you. And I moved on through Indiana and through Ohio, Amish country. About got clipped by a couple horses and buggies on the side of the road. And on to Pennsylvania with the rolling hills, across the Appalachian Trail, over the Allegheny Mountains, through New Jersey. Is anybody here from New Jersey? I'm sure there's some really pretty places in New Jersey. But the place I went through was really tough. And last year, on May 23rd at 8:30 p.m., I arrived at New York City Hall, completing a run of 3,063 miles, 59 and a half consecutive days of running, and 51 and a half miles a day, just under 2 marathons. And I get asked a lot as I tell people this story. They ask me, "Jason, what did you learn about life and yourself?" And there's 4 things that I learned, and I'm going to share those with you right now. The first of which is hope. Hope in believing in the things that are not proven, for which there is no evidence, and having faith. It's believing in those things that everybody else thinks is impossible, that cannot be done. You need to hold on to that belief in yourself and in your dreams. Patience. In life, as in this run, there are storms in life. I ran through windstorms, hailstorms, sandstorms, emotional storms, but regardless, one thing was consistent, whether it was an hour, 3 hours, a day, or 3 days, those storms would pass, and blue sky would come again, and the sun always rose the next day. Maintain calm and be patient. Consistency. Make relentless forward progress towards your goals on a consistent basis, and you will achieve consistent results. The top chart is my daily mileage. There's one dip in there when we got the flat tire. Other than that, it was 50 miles a day or more every day. The middle chart is the elevation profile of America. The elevation of what I was running through or over, mountains, through storms. The bottom chart, I'm a little bit of a diva, so I'm like emotional. You can tell that by the bottom chart there. But everything was going on in my mind. There were great days and bad days and great hours and bad hours. Regardless of what you may be experiencing, if you pursue that goal relentlessly, you will achieve consistent results. And finally, forgiveness. I'm almost 50 years old. I moved into a minivan with my mother for 60 days, and we were with each other for 24 hours a day. Enough said about forgiveness, right? Well, with love and forgiveness, we made it. And in closing, I want to share with you just a couple thoughts to put on your heart and minds. And that is this: in life, we will all have adversity. We know that. But we do not need to face that adversity alone. We have families, friends, great organizations that will support us. And if you believe in your dreams and hang on to them and make relentless forward progress towards them, you will achieve success. All that we have to do when we're in our lowest of lows is believe that we are possible and take that next step. My name's Jason Romero. You've been a great audience. Thank you very much.